of the Tennessee Titans. So let's take a look at it now. Okay, as always for you, the first fact I have about this stadium is its overall capacity, and I can actually tell you that the overall capacity of this stadium has changed every single year since it's opened. So in 1999, when the stadium first opened, it had a capacity of 67,700, but then the year after that it went up and up and up, and it's gone up every single year by a small amount each time until 2006, when it about capped out at about 69,000. So for the first sort of 7 years after it opened, this stadium, the capacity of it just kept going up and going up. They obviously found more and more room to put seats in there, so that was cool. But since 2006, the overall capacity of the stadium has pretty much capped out at around 69,000. And so moving on, I can tell you about the cost of this stadium to build. It actually cost around $290 million to build. So that's not too much either when you see some of the stadiums nowadays being built for over $1 billion. Anyway, I'm going to move on now to the naming rights of this stadium, and this stadium's actually had quite a history surrounding its naming right. When it was being built, when it was in construction, it didn't actually have a stadium name, but the local people of Tennessee just tended to call it the East Bank Stadium, as it was being built in an area of Tennessee known as the East Bank. However, as with many of the stadiums in the NFL, they sold their naming rights to the stadium company named Alphelia. Now, of course, it's called Nissan nowadays, and I'll get to that. As I've said, there is quite a history. But its first name change happened when it was called Alphelia, and it was called the Alphelia Coliseum. They actually paid for a 15-year, $30 million naming rights deal. However, the company Alphelia went bankrupt in 2002, and when they defaulted on their payment to the Tennessee Titans over the naming rights of the stadium, that deal was immediately closed off, and they said, you know, if you can't pay us for the naming rights of our stadium, you don't get the naming rights of our stadium at all. And so after that, the stadium was simply known as the Coliseum, and that was in 2002 until 2006, when Louisiana Pacific paid $30 million once again, but for a 10-year naming rights deal for this stadium. And it led to the stadium being known as the LP Field from 2006 to 2015. In June 2015, Nissan then finally bought the rights to this stadium, and they called it the Nissan Stadium, and they've actually bought it on a 20-year contract. And I've had a little look. I can't find out at all how much they paid for that, but it is now going to be called the Nissan Stadium for the next 19 years. However, moving on now, I can talk about the fact that this stadium has not just hosted NFL games, it's also hosted soccer games in here, both for professional teams in America and for the national team. Both the men's national soccer team and the women's national soccer team for America have both played in this stadium. And it's also hosted certain concerts and events. Not so much anymore, as attendance for these concerts and events often doesn't hit full capacity for this stadium. I'm not entirely sure why about that, but it means now that promoters have been discouraged from having music and other sorts of concerts in this stadium now. However, the CMA Music Festival does every year, when it takes place, have its main stage at this stadium, at the Tennessee Titans Stadium. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you very much for watching.